a bit.
Welcome to Modern Art is Rubbish.
Tom, stop doing those intros.
I was just checking my mic levels.
Mic level, were you? Indeed. Well, Tom, before we start, I think, like I like to say, this episode may not be suitable for young children to listen to. I think that's the case this time, isn't it, really?
I don't know, but yeah, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, okay, well, take my word for it.
So this podcast may contain scenes of a sexual nature and drug use and violence.
No violence in it, I don't think. Oh, yes, there is violence. Oh, dear, there is violence, but only mild threats. So not suitable for younger children. And also, you listening at home, please head over to the website modernartisrubbish.com and look at the images before. Some of them are quite adult, although they are drawn art, so just be prepared for that. Oh yes, and if you listen right to the end of the show, there's going to be a special musical contribution by Tom.
My night is rubbish. Isms. Juxtapose. Didactic. Modern is rubbish. Modern is rubbish podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 59 of Modern Art is Rubbish. You alright, Tom?
Yeah, I'm great, thanks, Marcus.
Great, good. Right, Tom, do you know what today? I thought I'd take you on a journey to late Victorian England, and today we're going to be looking at one of the most important and revolutionary artists of the late 19th century, Aubrey Beardsley. And now he was a young Victorian dandy and someone whose work went on to influence many artists such as Picasso. You can also see strong influence in a lot of 1960s work in particular. One probably close to your heart, the Beatles' Revolver album by Klaus Voormann. I don't think that would have happened without Aubrey Beardsley having done his thing.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice album now. I like that album cover.
It's a nice record.
Yeah, nice record, nice cover. Well done, everyone involved.
Yeah.
He's an artist whose work shocked Victorian Britain and is driven in part by his illness. He actually died so young that he never even made the 27 Club.
Oh, that's a massive fail then.
No, it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
really? Yeah,
maybe in Victorian times it was a different number. What number did he die at?
He died at 25, so very young.
Yeah, so, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he never quite made. And he drew almost exclusively in pen and ink. And he created fantastical, sometimes erotically charged scenes and people. And he himself actually described some of the subjects as quite mad and a little indecent. So, Tom, I think what you're asking for at the moment is no artist story would be complete without a biog of early life, would it?
Yeah, so could you give me a quick biog?
Yeah. Well, Tom, we need to go somewhere to start off this biography. So are you ready to travel through the magic medium of podcasting?
Oh, yeah.
I want to take you to Brighton.
Okay, well, I'm here already.
Yeah, oh no, I can't take you. I'm in Colchester.
Yeah. I'm at the bottom of my garden, so you're going to take me across the city somewhere else?
Yes. Well, we are going to take you somewhere else in the city. And I'm in Colchester at the moment, but I'm going to emerge into Brighton. Right. So, Aubrey Beardsley was born in Brighton in 1872, and he was very poorly from a young age. I mean, in fact, his mother described him as being as fragile as a piece of Dresden china. I have no idea how fragile that is, but I'm guessing
it's nothing to do with the bombing in Dresden, like 80 years later.
No, she wasn't predicting.
Yeah, no.
I don't know how.
70 years later.
No, I don't know how much China survived in that awful Second World War. At the age of 7, he actually contracted tuberculosis. Now, that was a bacterial infection that mainly affected the lungs. And in Victorian times, this would have been a death sentence, as there was no cure. And Beardsley would have been acutely aware he was to die at a very young age. You know, that was it. It was you get tuberculosis, then consumption, as it was known. There ain't much chance you're going to live very long. He also had a sister who was born the year before him, and he had a very, very close relationship with her. And they were both enthusiastic churchgoers. And she actually went on to become an actress and was born the year before him. Now, at age 17, he had a major hemorrhage which caused him to cough up blood. And this certainly would have focused his mind on getting his art out to a wider public. You know, because you can imagine, you know your time's limited, and he's a very driven guy. So around this time he moved to London and lived with his mother and his sister. And by day he had to work as an insurance clerk at this time, and at night he would draw by the light of 2 candles.
Cool,
yeah. So the thing is, Tom, is that when you look at this guy, you know, he wants to make it, he's driven, and you can see that every move he's made, he's always trying to push himself out there, and he's driven and he's determined, and he's actively networking, going out, meeting people, and he's even seeking out a lot of influential creators of the time. And Edward Burne-Jones was one of the most famous and influential artists in the UK at the time. Ever confident, Beardsley finds out his address, you know, goes up to his house and knocks on his door, dressed in really fine clothes and, you know, looking the part. He was invited in, and just so happened that Beardsley has a selection of his artwork under his arm to show Burne-Jones. And Burne-Jones, so impressed was he with the work that he was shown, he actually suggested that Beardsley become an artist. Now, this is something that he wasn't given to do, because normally he just advised against it. No, don't bother becoming an artist. And Beardsley actually gave him a pen and ink drawing, and Burne-Jones actually liked it so much that he actually put it up in his house. And this is the first work I'd like to talk about, and it's an illustration of Act 2 from a Wagner opera called Siegfried. Now, Siegfried is a fantastical opera involving things like giant dwarfs and dragons and stolen gold. And this illustration, you know, it's extremely confident and masterful work, and he drew it when he was just 19. And what it shows is it shows Siegfried standing in the foreground with a sword in hand. Randomly, in the opera, Siegfried has a history of breaking swords, so he's obviously quite proud with the one that he's got because he hasn't broken it yet. And from around the back of Siegfried, the head of a dragon is sort of peering around. And the image is beautifully intricate. It's got great contrast of blocks of black in the foreground and spaces of white in the background. And what's really interesting and unique about Beardsley's style is the fact that the lines that he's drawn are as thick in the foreground as they are in the background. Normally, as an artist, when you do line drawings, in order to indicate depth, you would make the lines at the front thicker and heavier, and the lines at the back thinner to give that illusion of depth. And he's managed to create depth without doing that, just keeping the line pretty much the same and consistent throughout, which is quite a revolutionary thing at the time. This is a great example of his work that was detailed. So what do you think of that, Tom?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
You can see why the guy's thinking, you know, I'm pretty good and I should be out of there. First major work, right? Again, he's working as an insurance clerk in the day. Lunchtime, you know, he's always going out and mingling and mixing with people. And his local bookshop owner asked a publisher friend to come along and see some examples of Beardsley work. Now, Beardsley just happens to coincidentally turn up when the publishers arrived. And so impressed by the work that he saw, the publisher actually offered him a job to illustrate an 1893 edition of Sir Thomas Malory's Le Morte d'Arthur, which is a book that's based on the tales about the legend of King Arthur. So you've got all the tales about Lancelot, the Lady in the Lake, and Merlin and such like. And basically, as soon as he got this commission, he said that's it. He gave up his work as a clerk and concentrated full time as an artist. Now, it was actually a really big undertaking, and it required him to do over 400 designs for this book. So he started off with this very intricate sort of illustration designs, such as the ones we've discussed, and gradually over time, because there was a lot of pressure of work that he had to do, he changed his work from it being less elaborate, and he started to produce less intricate works but still had this beautiful simplicity of line. For his next project in 1893, he landed a major drawing commission, and it was with a brand new hot magazine called Studio, and that featured all the latest arts and designs. And he was given the featured artist slot, for want of a better word, in the first edition, and this brought him to the public's attention because they gave him a really, really good write-up. Now, this would have given him the credibility and the confidence to approach one of the greatest playwrights of his time, Oscar Wilde. So he found out that Oscar Wilde was due to publish a one-act play called Salome, and Beardsley thought, I'll send him off a drawing and see if I can get myself noticed. Now, see, I found this play Salome quite interesting, so I just want to actually give you Tom, and you listening at home, my crude synopsis of the play. Though I'm not doing the genius of Wilde any justice. So basically, Salome is based around biblical events relating to the death of John the Baptist. So Tom, we've got to go somewhere, and I'd like to take you to Judea, to the palace of King Herod, and it's around 35 BC.
All right, do I have to put my shoes on?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, what's going on? This is a bit rowdy.
Yeah, well, we're here, Tom, on the night of a wild banquet, and drink is flowing freely. So, are you thinking, who is Salome? Am I reading your mind right at the moment?
No, but who is Salome?
Well, the stepdaughter of King Herod and the daughter of Queen Herodias. And basically, in this story, Salome is not liking this party, so she's deciding to sneak away from the banquet. So we're just going to go onto the balcony now. So if you follow me, Tom. And you can see her. And you see that guy there. Can you see that guy over there I'm pointing to?
Yeah, okay. Oh, that handsome man. Oh, my God, he's a bit of a hot pot.
Well, that is actually a captured Syrian prince. And basically, he really fancies her. But, she is not interested. So she's obviously not into captured Syrian princes.
Well, who is these days?
Tom, listen out. Have a listen. Can you hear anything? Whoa, let me out. Whoa. Can you hear those intriguing noises?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that was?
Well, it sounds like someone who's locked up somewhere.
Yes.
A prisoner. Yes,
correct. It wasn't the voice of me, as some people may be listening to. It's actually the voice of Jochanan. Now, Jochanan, the character of Jochanan, is actually John the Baptist. Now, just as you were intrigued by that amazing voice, you were very intrigued, weren't you?
No, but carry on. No, I was, yeah, God.
She goes down and she thinks, I've got to check out who this is. And she sees him, and she sees Jochanan in prison. And she really fancies him, and she thinks, I like you. I really like you. But, it's John the Baptist, so he's not really into all that. He's not into her. He's not interested.
What, is he more of a sort of Sunday school type of guy vibe?
I guess being a John the Baptist out of the Bible probably does.
Yeah.
So she's not liking this because he's obviously not interested. He's rejecting her. So she declares, I will get to kiss you. Basically, whether you like it or not, I'm going to get to snog you.
Yeah, you're a prisoner, remember, Jochanan?
Yeah. And then she leaves. Anyway, we need to go back upstairs now. Tom, come and follow us up. Back upstairs. Now, we can see Herod and his guests, and they're as you look, they've just burst onto the balcony.
Boo, boo.
Now Herod is, you know, as you do, Herod is absolutely taken by how stunning his stepdaughter looks. He's absolutely obsessed with her.
Okay.
So he's seeing, he's thinking, crikey, Salome, you may be my stepdaughter, but you look great. So driven with desire, he is desperate to see her dance. You know it is. If you're driven with desire, you think, God, I want to see you dance. And she says, no, I'm not going to dance. What do you think about that, Tom?
I'm not going to dance unless you go and kill that damn Jesus.
What?
Sorry.
Nearly,
all right.
she refuses to comply. She says, look, I'm not going to dance. And he says, look, please dance for me. I will give you anything if you dance for me. And he literally means anything. So she says, all right, I'm going to do my dance. So she does a dance of 7 veils and she ends up naked. Job done. And in payment for this favour, she asks, you know, perhaps quite reasonably, for the head of Jochanan, the character of John the Baptist.
So reasonably?
Well, I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
not. Maybe it's not that reasonable, I don't know. Maybe it's not a reasonable request.
Yeah, it seems quite brutal, but yeah.
So, but you haven't heard the second part. So she can give him that big kiss that she promised.
Oh, okay, it's all starting to add up.
Yeah. However, when she receives the prize, she's utterly disappointed. She gets his head, and even with his head cut off, he still seems to be playing hard to get and does not seem that interested.
That's the thing with like decapitated heads. They're always playing hard to get.
So ultimately she's not very satisfied. She hasn't really got that kiss that she wanted. Now, of course, Herod, appalled by what he's seen, he's appalled by the fact that she wants to give this severed head a kiss. He has her crushed to death by his guards, and they do it with their shields.
This is a lovely story, Marcus.
Yeah, it's a lovely story. I know, I did say it's not for little kids. Now, the point is that he wasn't upset by the fact that, appalled by the fact she wanted a head, a severed head. He was appalled by the fact, I think, that she wanted to kiss him.
Yeah, well, he was jealous, wasn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, jealousy.
Yeah.
Would you get jealous of a severed head?
Well, it's not so much the head, it's her affection, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, affection for the severed head.
Yeah.
So that was really never going anywhere, that relationship, anyway.
Well, certainly not after she'd been crushed by shields.
No. So, now, I want to talk about the Aubrey Beardsley illustrations that went with this play, because they're amazing, and they show that simple line drawings that I was talking about, his new simplified style. And what's different about the drawings is they're drawn in a response to the story rather than the literal interpretation. So they actually caused quite a stir when they were published, because they were quite graphic and sexually charged, but they're beautifully executed works. Now, the first one we're looking at is the stomach dance, and you can see a topless Salome. She's doing a sexy dance, and there's like lots of flowers dancing around her, and she's doing some good moves there. And in the corner you can see this kind of strange creature with like fiery like hair, and he's jamming on his what kind of instrument would you say that is? It's like a 2-string guitar.
Yeah, that's C6 Steve.
C6 Steve in the corner. And the picture, as you can see, is beautifully split into white background, and the foreground is black. And if you look in the corner, you can see a sort of strange like signature. Can you see it? And it's like three sort of lines and a dot and 3 dots.
Yeah, nice.
That is his signature. Now, Beardsley was really quite influenced by Japanese prints, as were many sort of artists, such as Van Gogh, you know, were influenced by Japanese line art. Now, on to the next picture, which is called The Woman in the Moon. And in this picture, you can see a naked, androgynous figure. Now, that's quite revolutionary and shocking for the time, because androgyny, that kind of ambiguity simply wasn't expressed in anything, really. And also, you can see this androgynous figure, and you can see Salome, and they're looking at the moon. And the moon appears to have the face of Oscar Wilde. Now, it shows the confidence of this guy, that he's got his patron for this piece is Oscar Wilde, and yet he's prepared to kind of slightly take a little stab at him.
Why would that be a stab?
It's slightly mocking, isn't it, the moon face? It doesn't... Do you think he presents him in a good light, or are you quite happy with the moon in that?
Oh man, I would love to be the man in the moon.
Right, so on to the final picture from Salome. You can see it's so beautifully drawn, and it's you can see Salome, and she's floating in a white robe, as you do, and she's holding the severed head of Jacqueline, and she's about to give him that promised kiss. And in this image, you can see white blood is pouring down into a black pool, which in turn is nourishing the sort of phallic-looking flowers.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, he looks like Robert Plant.
What, the head?
John the Baptist, yeah.
No. No. Okay, for this next, right, on to the next section, right? Okay, Tom.
Yes.
Can you take this yellow book outside for a second?
Yeah, Marcus, sure, yeah, I'll take it outside. Here, I'll give it here.
There you go.
Oh, I can't get the damn door open. Oh, what's all this commotion? Jesus, what's going on? Marcus, there's that whole crowd out there. They're all shouting. They're burning Beatles records.
Tom, sorry, I forgot to mention we're in Victorian London, and this book caused quite a stir, and actually in the end resulted in Beardsley being forced to sell a lot of his possessions and almost losing his reputation and his career. So, the Yellow Book. So with his fame and celebrity now firmly established after the Salome book, he suggested to his publisher that he'd like to create a quarterly publication showing contemporary art and literature, featuring some of the leading writers and artists of the time, but not Oscar Wilde, because I think he wanted to establish his own fame himself, separate from Oscar Wilde. And the art, what was interesting about this work was the art would not illustrate the literature, and the literature would not reflect the art, so they were separate to each other, which is quite different. And the title he chose was The Yellow Book, and this was deliberate because French books of the time containing naughty content were sold in yellow wrappers. So seeing a new book like this would cause a scandal in people's minds. He knew he was always up for causing a bit of scandal. And when it was released, it actually was an instant hit, and it actually sold over 5,000 copies in the first edition. I'd just like to have a quick look at what was slightly edgy about Beardsley's art. Now, the cover at the time would have been considered quite provocative. And on it you can see a nighttime candlelit scene, and there is an image of a lady wearing a low-cut dress, and there's a mask around her eyes, so it's like they're going to some kind of nighttime, perhaps sordid event. On the front cover as well, there's another figure, and they've got a mask on, and I don't know what you think, Tom, I think they're looking quite lustfully. And they also, if you look at their eyes, they look like they've been on something.
Yeah.
I don't know what they've been on, but they've been on something.
Yeah, they've been hacking the Pentagon.
Hacking the Pentagon?
Yeah.
What's hacking the Pentagon?
Well, I don't know. They look like some hackers.
Oh, that's you're offended, aren't you? Clearly.
Oh right, yeah. I'm obviously very offended. It's got his signature on the cover, by the way, hasn't it?
Yeah, that'll be the Japanese style signatures on there as well. Now, if you look at the next picture, what you could see is a lady in evening wear, and she's out alone at night on her own. Does that look that bad to you, that picture? It's a picture that's very dark, and her dress is outlined in very faint white lines, and all you can see is the bright white of her head and her top.
It's a long flowing dress. It literally looks like she's come from a funeral because it's all black. But also, it looks like it must be a dry and a balmy night, because otherwise her dress would be absolutely ruined.
Yes. Now, the thing is, do you find that a bit shocking?
Go on. Don't tell me this shocked people in those...
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Because, Tom, this is Victorian times. What respectable lady would be out on her own, all dressed up like that?
Marcus, she's just come from her dad's funeral. Give the woman a break. She's mourning. Well, you know.
I know you may think, you know, you're covering for her, but no respectable lady would have been seen out at night on their own in Victorian times.
All right, okay.
So that's quite a provocative image. Apparently in Victorian times. Very shocking.
Yeah. Yeah, but was it shocking for everyone or just for the stuck-up people?
Yes,
yeah.
Probably. Yes.
Probably just the stuck-up people.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's, you know, to get your notoriety, you have to...
Upset the salmon faces.
Yeah.
The salmon heads, even.
Now, this book, it's a massive success. And around the time of the 5th edition, he actually nearly lost everything. It was a short-lived success. Now, the reason was, in 1895, Oscar Wilde was arrested for gross indecency. Now, gross indecency, for those of you who don't know, was basically he was accused of a homosexual act, which isn't indecent at all, but there you go. It was to Victorian minds. Interestingly enough, I don't think women could be done for gross indecency in Victorian times, what I remember.
But they could be frowned upon for walking out at night alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a different sort of indecency.
Yeah, that is quite interesting, isn't it? There you go. So he's arrested, but when he was being escorted to the police station by 2 officers, Wilde was seen holding a copy of a French erotic novel, which is bound in a yellow wrapper.
Has this got any reference to any of this story we've been discussing today in the word yellowism?
I'd be interested to find out. I didn't look into that, but it does seem there's a lot of yellow coming up.
Yeah.
Saucy yellow.
Saucy yellow, yeah.
Yeah, saucy yellow, not just yellow ochre or something like that, which isn't saucy. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but that's just my... we'll talk about schoolboy minds later. Some people thought what Oscar Wilde was carrying was not a naughty French novel. They thought it was a copy of Beardsley's Yellow Book.
How very convenient.
So in their minds, they associated the publication with decadence and immoral behaviour, and they felt it was spreading a polluting influence. So basically, I thought, oh my God, Oscar Wilde's got Beardsley's Yellow Book. Beardsley's work must be horrible because... So quite unfairly, even though Oscar Wilde had nothing to do with the Yellow Book, a jeering crowd got really angry, and they gathered outside Beardsley's publisher, and they started throwing projectiles at the building like mud and stone, and apparently they even broke some windows. Now, sadly, John Lane said, "That's it, Beardsley, I've had enough," and fired him. And Beardsley lost almost everything. So this is a guy, you can imagine, a short life ahead of him, and he's just lost everything he's built, his reputation, his income, and almost his career.
Yeah, maybe in his head, if he's obviously having a mental breakdown over it, But he had quite longevity, and he made sure he did with the stuff he did in his short life, didn't he?
Well, yes, that's the point. This is the thing about the drive of this guy. The one thing is like people who are driven and focused and know what they want and they just go for it. Beardsley didn't give up.
Now a short advertisement break.
Hello, insurance is us. Aubrey Beardsley speaking. How may I help you?
Sounds like you've got a nasty cough, sir. I was wondering whether you could give me some insurance against an angry mob.
Yeah, we can do that. What is it? Is it? Do you want full salacious material cover as well?
Just cover for offence taken by yellow things.
Okay. Also, would you be interested in receiving other goods and services relating to insurance from us and third-party suppliers, such as receiving a high-definition turtle art print from Mod Night is Rubbish?
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Thank you very much. Sign me up. Where do I sign?
Okay, thanks for calling. Bye.
Bye.
So just head over to modernartisrubbish.com and subscribe to our email list to get your free artwork and to be updated on the latest Modern Art is Rubbish news. And he moved to France with some of his artistic friends, and they said, right, okay, let's take a break away from all this scandal, and they decided to set up a new magazine called The Savoy. It's sort of like an art magazine. So he went back to London, and of course, no one's interested in him. You know, they don't want the scandal. They don't want anything to do with that kind of material and scandal. But there was one publisher, and his name was Leonard Smithers. Now, Leonard Smithers, he's publishing anything. You know, he's up for it. If no one else wants to touch it, he's the man. You know, he prides himself on publishing the works that no other publisher will touch. And actually, in his bookshop that he owned, he actually had a sign in the window that said "Smut is cheap today." So I assume he was having a smut promotion.
Yeah. So where was his bookshop? Was that in Brighton or?
No, he was in London.
In London,
because that's where Beardsley moved to.
Because we haven't got to Brighton yet. We started in Brighton. We haven't got back here.
He never came back. He left before his career took off.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, so that's it. So sorry, there's no more Brighton in this story.
Yeah, I just presumed he was going to come back, but
well, if you want a little bit, do you want a little bit of Brighton? I'll give you a little bit of Brighton.
Well, I know there's a blue plaque.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, it should be fucking yellow, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Now, just to mention Brighton, there's a lot of motifs, very ornamental flourishes, and sort of like incredible kind of exotic designs in his work. Now, if you live near the Brighton Pavilion, that will have been an influence to him, no doubt, in his work. And you will see shapes that look a bit like the Brighton Pavilion.
Well, Brighton had a reputation at the time of naughtiness, didn't it?
And decadence.
Decadence, yeah, because of some prince who lived at the Pavilion.
Yeah, the Prince Regent, yes.
The Prince Regent, yeah.
So that was before. That was in the early part of the 19th century. So yes, it was known as a bit of a party town.
So that might have influenced his young life in some way.
Yeah, possibly. Well, I mean, probably Brian still had that reputation when he was born.
Oh, right, yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it still does now in a lot of ways, doesn't it?
Yes, it definitely does. It definitely still does have that reputation.
It's hard to say from within the city, but you're been out the city for a few months, so... Yeah. What's everyone saying?
Oh, no. By the power of the podcast, I'm still in Brighton.
No, but you're not though, are you?
We did the power that don't destroy the illusion of the podcast, Tom.
Yeah, but you've said a few times you're in Colchester, haven't you?
No, I travelled by the power of the podcast magically to Brighton.
Oh right. Oh sorry. Yeah, no, I'm slow on the uptake.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're in Brighton.
So anyway, So getting back to the publisher, he's got this deal, Leonard Smithers, who's prepared to publish anything that no one else will touch. And around this time, Beardsley was doing, Beardsley always changing his style. He started doing illustrations in a more French influenced style, really ornamental and beautiful. I'll put an example of this work on the website for people to look at. But what I want to talk about is the more notorious illustrations that he did, and these were in a more simple style, and they had more of an erotic nature. Now, as we've said before, throughout his career, Beardsley's work regularly featured phallic motifs and had a sexual undercurrent. Also, bear in mind, Tom, and you listening, that he was not able to indulge in anything too vigorous, as he feared a hemorrhage. So you can imagine this kind of like his sexuality, in some ways it came out in his work as well, because he never really got to express himself any other way. Now, the works that I want to talk about are some of his most beautifully executed, yet still, I would say, shocking to some even today. And these are images he drew for a limited print run of a book called Lysistrata. Now, Lysistrata is an ancient Greek bawdy comedy. I've picked a couple of illustrations to look at.
Okay.
Are your sensitivities, are they fragile today, or are you okay?
No, I'm fine. I've been looking after a baby for the last few months, so no amount of shit or sick or anything can upset my constitution.
Okay, so the first one we're looking at is an illustration. Now, bear in mind, this is set in Athens. Now, the first one I'm looking at is called The Toilet of Lampeto. Now, the first thing to say at the time as well is Aubrey Beardsley was very interested in erotic Greek vases and pottery. There's a lot of Greek pottery from ancient Greece and around that area that depicts quite sexually explicit scenes, and this is what he's encountered into his style. The first work I'm looking at, we've got a Cupid. And he's got his bow and arrows, and he's got his black wings, and he's got good black hair. And whilst grabbing his man parts, is powdering the lower part of a woman's bottom, and she's reaching down to grab herself. It appears to be, and she's beautifully illustrated with kind of like almost like ancient Greek style hair, and she's in very, very ornate stockings. Anything to say on that? Is that a common scene you've seen?
I describe the hair as Amy Winehouse hair.
Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, and
sorry. I've gone back to being a schoolboy again. I'm sorry. So, right, on to the next one. This is called Lysistrata Defending the Acropolis. Now, I don't know about you, but normally when I've seen like recreations of ancient battles on telly and such, like, normally you would have like them pouring oil, burning oil on the over the ramparts onto the people trying to break in.
Yeah, you'd have shields and swords and all those sort of things. Yeah, swords.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. And, archers. But in this one, I think the women have got very, very creative. And what it shows is the image of naked Athenian women and Lysistra trying to defend the city, and they're using the contents of chamber pots, and they're farting to repel the invader. Now, in this case, the invader is a scouting
Retreat!
He's turning, he's making a quick getaway, and he clearly doesn't. It's clearly worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's clearly been an effective strategy.
I'm sorry, but if you walked into a room and were confronted by that, you would retreat.
Yeah. And he's got is some kind of stick with sort of like leaves on top of it to defend himself. Yeah. Or feathers.
Or flames.
Yeah, or flames perhaps.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have flames near those.
It's the Olympic torch, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't carry the Olympic torch to defend myself when someone's doing bottom burps.
Farting.
Yeah. Now, what is amazing is that these pictures, these scenes are so baldy, as I've said, but they are exquisitely beautifully drawn. The women have beautiful flowers in their hair and, exquisite frills on the tops of their stockings. So it's a really amazing kind of mix that is created. And I can imagine that's like people have been looking at it and going, I don't know, oh, it's shocking. Oh, no, I like the drawing, but oh, my God, oh, I like the drawing. And like send you into a loop of disgust and pleasure.
You're looking at it, you can feel the power of the fart. It looks like it's really giving some, pressure out. It's like from Viz magazine or something. Right.
Now, in the end, as I said, very short life. In 1896, Beardsley suffered another serious hemorrhage. And in 1897, he converted to Catholicism.
He was always keen, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he always was.
He took obviously a sabbatical between his childhood and 27 or whatever, 25.
Perhaps, yeah. I think there were a few sort of religious things, and gradually over time he did become more and more influenced by religion, and this was in part he actually had a sort of like an intimate friendship, not physical but an intimate friendship with a Russian guy who actually encouraged him, as did his mum, to sort of like become more religious towards the end of his life. And so in 1897, as I said, he converted to Catholicism, and he then had to move to the French Riviera for his health, because obviously the air and everything's better there. But sadly, gradually he became so ill. I mean, this is quite awful, this guy who's art and everything, he was no longer able to control his pen to draw. So he's obviously deteriorating now, and he's only 25. And with the little time he had left, no doubt in conflict with his religion and his work, he actually wrote to his publisher and said, look, please destroy all the Lysistrata artwork and all other naughty drawings that I've done. And that was almost like his final wish. He actually said, look, I'm dying, please destroy them. And in 1898, as I said, at the age of 25, he actually died. Now, what do you think the publisher did? Do you think he said, yep, I'm so sad, I'll fulfil your wishes?
Are we talking about Leonard Smithers?
Yes.
Well, what I know about him, he likes to do whatever anyone else, do the opposite of what is expected of him, so he wouldn't have done it.
No. The mere fact that the works are still around. I think some of them are actually in the Victorian Albert collection in London, the museum in London. So no, he didn't. So sadly, I believe he just published some more copies. I suppose it's good business, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's good. All that, and maybe if he hadn't, we wouldn't even be doing this podcast.
So, Tom, that concludes our podcast episode. Now, so to finish up, Tom, I believe that you've been doing a little bit of music.
Oh yeah, no, I have. Yeah, my new single was out on Monday last week. The single's called Star Splitter by Obi Tom.
And how can people hear it?
It's on all streaming services, on Spotify, and on if you don't have Spotify, you can hear it on SoundCloud.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, Tom, why don't we, instead of having the Modern Art is Rubbish theme, we'll have it play out at the end. I think that would be a wise move. So, just to say, also, if you can please subscribe to our email list and follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And please check out our Patreon page. So, Tom, before we go, I think we should just play out with your song then.
So here's Here's Star Splitter. Oh, hang on. I should say that our friend of the show, Elizabeth E, designed the artwork.